This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, Notorious 5, bonus episode 4, part 2. When we left off, True and Woody's sister Zora were preparing breakfast Friday morning for the family at the cabin that Woody rented for his family's annual vacation. This year's vacation is in Denver, Colorado, and he's rented a luxury cabin on the slopes. The gang is all there. About 25 of his closest family members and their family friends have flown into town, and his mother, Miss Charlotte, has brought his on-again, off-again, lifelong girlfriend, Tasha. The night before, Woody's oldest sister, True to form, tried to punk True, just as Woody predicted. And True held her own. Like the G she is, True, was not at all fazed. She did, however, have the emotional maturity to remove herself from the environment for the night so that cooler heads could prevail. She headed over to the resort hotel, and after Woody checked his family, he headed there to find her. He knew where she was, at the bar, sipping a lemon drop. So when he said that True didn't need to find entertainment because he was there, True said, "When you gonna get that up? We been over this." Woody said, "Come on, little mama. I get that you're not looking for Mr. Right, but what's wrong with Mr. Right now?" True said, "What happened to keeping business and personal separate? What? Is it an ego thing? You mad because I don't remember?" And before she could finish, Woody said, "I'm not concerned with the first time. I'm just trying to arrange the second time." True said, "I hate to disappoint you, but that's going to be the only time. Hold on to the memories. I've got work to do. I'm focused. I don't do distractions and complications." Woody said, "You telling me you're not seeing nobody?" True said, "I'm never seeing anybody. I stick and move, remember?" Woody said, "So you saying that since we hooked up?" True cut him off and said, "That's not your business. Matter of fact, how about we act like that time never happened and we just focus on the business? Let's keep the main thing the main thing." Woody said, "I'm not trying to sweat you, little mama. I'm just trying to understand. What, you a hoe or something?" True said, Yeah, your little ego is bruised." And she sipped her lemon drop, shook her head, and said, "What you or anyone else thinks of me is none of my damn business. So I'm not in the business of changing anybody's mind about me. I'm good with what I see when I look in the mirror." But he said, "I don't even mean no disrespect. That didn't come out right. But if I take what you're saying at face value, then you telling me all you do is one night stands, and I just don't see you like that." True said, "I get it. You're a man and I'm a woman. I'm supposed to want a boyfriend, a fiance, a husband, kids. It's okay that you don't, though." Woody said, "No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you should be somebody's woman." True said, "And I'm saying I don't want to be anybody's woman. I have needs, and like most people, I know how to get them met. But I'm not like most women. When I have an itch that I can or don't feel like scratching myself, I have no problem finding someone who can. I don't make it a habit of picking up strange men in every city that I visit. But I refuse to ever get caught slipping. So yes, I book an additional hotel room just in case. It's called staying prepared. I also travel with condoms. And no matter where I am or what I'm doing, I don't let anybody get too comfortable. When I'm in my own neck of the woods, I got some folks that I can call. They already know who I am and what I'm about. And I play where I know it's safe, familiar, and fun. But most importantly, where there are no strings attached. I ain't got no nigga, and no nigga ain't got me. But I can make arrangements, though. And I'm sure you're active as well. And I'm sure you can make arrangements, too. I'd bet dollars to donuts that you don't think twice about the women you test drive." Woody said, "Test drive?" True said, "Yeah. Since I'm a woman and you have a hard time seeing me that way, I have to put it in language I know you can understand. If I see a car that I'd like to drive and the price ain't too high, and the road conditions are good, I absolutely will take it for a spin. And as long as it does not belong to anyone else and isn't connected to anyone I consider family, I'll take it for a drive. And if the reliability ratings are good, I might take it for a second drive. Woody just burst out laughing. He said, Joe, that was a good one. I gotta use that. True said, you can have that for free. Use it. But you cannot use me. You need to get one off while we in Denver, rub it out, or rent a room. Then Woody said, you say a lot of things, and I typically believe them. And I don't doubt your sincerity on this topic, but something about the presentation doesn't ring true for me. True said, how so? Woody said, it sounds like a challenge. When True went to protest, Woody said, chill, little mama. I'm going to leave it alone for now. But give me 48 hours. True asked, 48 hours for what? Woody said, to prove that I know what I know. True said, about what? Then Woody leaned over and whispered in her ear that your panties get wet every time I lick my lips. He licked his lips, brushed her ear with his tongue, stepped back, and her nipples were at a full salute. He dropped a $100 bill on the bar, walked to the other side of the bar, ordered a double shot of 1738, and people watched. When a brunette approached Woody and started flirting, and he bought her a drink, True finished her lemon drop, paid the tab with her room key, picked up his $100 bill, and sashayed off. Just as True and Zora finished the final breakfast item, Woody walked up behind True, and she pretended like she didn't know he was standing there. Then he wrapped his arms around her, kissed her on the neck, and said, thank you for doing this for my family, baby. I truly appreciate it. And you? Zora said, aww. Then she started carrying dishes of food to the buffet table and setting up for breakfast. As soon as she left the room, True elbowed the mess out of Woody to get him up off her. He just backed up chuckling. He knew his sister, so he knew that she told True everything that transpired after she left, including that he was gone for 3 hours. And based on how long he was talking to her at the bar, she had to know that he was probably with that brunette. Everything in her body language said jealousy, not annoyance, and he was loving it. At about that same time in Dallas, LJ had dropped his daughter and son, Michael and Angel, at school, and then headed into the firm, while Q headed to Tico for that meeting with his supervisor. Regina headed into Vibrantly You to meet with Miss Burney about how they were going to handle the remainder of her contract. Pops Andy had convinced the Queen Mother to go with him over to the Salvation Center of Dallas to meet with the doctors Rogers. And he left Donovan's kids with Mom Joyce in the mother-in-law suite, where she was watching LJ and Regina's youngest son, Anders. And Angela, Mom Brenda, and Melissa were in Mom Brenda's suite. Melissa had claimed that she did not feel well enough to go to school and that she needed to stay home. When she asked to go be with her Nana Brenda, Angela obliged, but she was determined to get to the bottom of what the heck was going on. Mom Brenda was still in bed, and Melissa was snuggled up next to her. Mom Brenda said, Angela, I told you that me, you, and Q need to have a serious conversation about little Miss's gifts and the support that she needs. She's exhausted. The girl's been up almost all night. Angela said, why? Mom Brenda said, she's worried about Steph and the baby. When I asked her if she wanted me to wake somebody up, she said no. I asked if we needed to call 911. She said no. All she wanted to do was pray. So that's what we did for most of the night. Angela said, but what happened? Mom Brenda said, well, yesterday she told me that something was going on with Stephanie. So I let her go down there to check on her. It was hell just getting Stephanie to open the door. When she finally did, she told Melissa that she was fine, that she was just tired. But she refused to let Melissa in. And she never doesn't let this baby in. I tried to get Maribel to go down there with the master key and see what was going on. But she refused, talking about Stephanie's grown and she not inserting herself in her business. Angela said, right, because if Stephanie needed or wanted help with whatever it is that's going on, she'd say so. Mom Brenda said, and that's where you're wrong. Sometimes people are on the edge and they don't even know it. So it's our responsibility when we see something to say something. Angela said, well, what is it that you think you see or Melissa sees? Mom Brenda said, Maribel said that Stephanie asked her about home inductions. Angela said, now that's just stupid. She wouldn't do that. Mom Brenda said, does she usually cook when Corey's out of town? Angela said, no, she usually comes up and eats in the main kitchen with us. Why? Mom Brenda said, because I asked Q this morning, and he told me that she never came up for dinner last night, and she didn't come up for breakfast this morning. And I asked Joyce, and she said that the plate she left for Stephanie on the counter covered up is still sitting there, untouched. Angela asked, well, did you call or text her? Mom Brenda said, of course I did. She didn't answer the phone, and my text messages haven't been read. Angela said, well, maybe she's asleep, Mom Brenda. Or maybe she went into the office already. Then Angela called her secretary to see if Stephanie was in, and when she told her that she was not, Angela asked if Stephanie had at least called to say she wasn't coming in. And when her secretary said no, Angela got nervous. She said, wait a minute, hold on. And then she pulled up the estate surveillance system on her phone and saw that Stephanie's car was parked in its usual spot on the left rear side of the estate. Then she said, now if I waddle my big behind all the way down those stairs and nothing is wrong, and she get an attitude with me, refuses to open the damn door, or says something slick out of her mouth, we both gonna be going back to the hospital. You know she hasn't said 2 words to me since our little disagreement in my hospital room. Mom Brenda said, oh, that's what you're calling it? A little disagreement, huh? When Angela finally made it down to Stephanie and Corey's apartment, she knocked on the door several times and got no answer. She called Stephanie's phone and could hear it ringing inside. So then she called Mom Brenda to ask her to send Melissa down with a master key. And right before Mom Brenda answered, she heard Melissa say behind her, here you go, and holding out the master key. Angela jumped and said, girl, you almost scared me to death. Then she took the key from Melissa and unlocked the door. And then her adrenaline started racing. Her hands started sweating. Her heart started beating fast. She turned to Melissa and said, wait in the hallway, baby. Don't come in here. And Melissa said, but the baby needs our help. Meanwhile, Pops Andy and the Queen Mother are in their session with Doctors Peter and Bethany Rogers. Dr. Pete had just explained how he and his wife go about counseling couples who are going through marital trials. He explained that if a couple decides that they want to walk through the trial together, then there can't be a victim or a villain. One person's behavior may be the catalyst for the trial, but the same way it takes 2 people to be in a relationship and to make a relationship healthy and happy, it takes 2 people to make the relationship tumultuous. As a result, their counseling style isn't focused on blame. Instead, it's focused on accountability. Dr. Beth said, each of you have to be willing and able to take accountability for the choices that you've made and the behaviors that you exhibited that caused the breakdown in your marriage. You also have to be willing and committed to being honest with one another, not just about your actions, but about how you were impacted by your partner's actions. Then the couple walked them through an exercise. Dr. Beth said, often when we communicate about issues, we say things like, it really pisses me off when you don't take out the trash, or you never listen to me. Because that kind of phrasing is directed at the other individual and not on what's actually important, which is how we feel, how we'd like to feel, and what we need from our partner in order to feel that way. It doesn't provide our partner with alternative behavior, and we aren't being vulnerable about why their current behavior is impacting us negatively. As a result, the other person is most likely just going to be defensive. They're going to be more focused on explaining their intent, defending their behavior, and questioning the validity of what was communicated to them. So we're going to model effective communication, and then we're going to have you do the same, using the 2 examples that I just used. Then Dr. Pete said, when I'm talking to you and you turn your back to me, I feel like I don't have your full attention. And as a result, I don't feel heard. When I don't feel heard, it makes me angry because I feel rejected, ignored, and devalued. In response, Dr. Beth said, I apologize for turning my back when you're communicating with me. I understand how it could appear that I'm not listening. I want you to know that that isn't my intention, and I want you to feel heard. What can I do to ensure that you know that I hear you? Then Dr. Pete said, I would feel heard if you faced me when we were talking, make eye contact with me, and defer all other activities until we're done. Then Dr. Beth said, I can commit to giving you my full attention by facing you and making eye contact with you. If I'm already engaged in an activity, though, can I ask that you either wait until I conclude that activity or give me an opportunity to communicate whether I need to finish that activity while I'm listening to you? Then Dr. P said, there are going to be times when she and I are communicating and she's going to turn her back to me. And based on what she just said, she doesn't want me to immediately receive that as her not listening. Instead, she wants me to engage with her about the behavior in a way that's positive and effective. So I can't say, see, you're doing it again. I told you that I don't like that. You said you wouldn't do it anymore. Then Dr. Beth said, I'm a multitasker. It's inevitable that when someone's communicating with me, I'm folding laundry, I'm prepping food for dinner, I might even be checking emails, and I'm fully capable of listening to what Pete is saying and completing those activities. But he's communicating to me that he doesn't feel heard when I do that, because that's a habit that is going to be hard for me to break. I'm going to need his support in order to give him what he needs from me. I'm also going to have to do some self-evaluating. I'm going to have to assess how often people are communicating with me and I'm doing other things. Do I do it at work? Do I do it with my children? Do I do it with friends? And so on. And I have to consider how that might feel for them. While he's the only one communicating with me about this issue, it stands to reason that there may be other people who are also negatively impacted by this behavior, and I'm just not aware of it because they haven't communicated it to me. So as I work to change this behavior, I'm going to need grace and support from Pete. And what I'll find is that the other people who I interact with will be positively impacted by this change as well. Hearing that, the Queen Mother thought about the comments that Miss Bernie made about her when they went to confront her about her conversation with her sister Jira. Then Dr. Pete said, so the next time we're having a conversation and she turns her back to complete another task, I'm going to say, Beth, I'd like your full attention while we discuss this. Should I wait until you're done with that activity, or can you turn around and give me your full attention? Dr. Beth said, and when I hear that, I'm going to immediately realize that I've given him my back again and that he's attempting to support me in the change that I've said I was willing to commit to. If the activity can be deferred, I'm going to defer it. I'm going to give him my full attention and thank him for the reminder. If the house is going to burn down because I left the food unattended on the stove, obviously, I'm going to let him know that we can either continue the conversation while I continue cooking, or we can defer the conversation until I'm done. Then they had Pops Andy and the Queen Mother demonstrate that same activity using the taking out the trash example. When the couple seemed to have a firm handle on that communication style, Dr. Beth asked, is this something that you believe you can incorporate as you work through the issues that your marriage is facing? And Pops Andy said, absolutely. The Queen Mother said, it depends. Everybody looked at the Queen Mother to see what it depended on. And she said, first, I need to know everything that happened between my husband and that heifer so that I can decide if I even want to communicate with his behind at all. Dr. Pete asked, Andy, is this something that you're prepared to discuss today? When Pops Andy said, yes, the Queen Mother was all ears.